Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Link Up Leaders podcast. I am Lisa, as always joined by my co-host, Francois Jaffers. And today we're going to be talking all about scaling through order fulfillment with our very special guest, Tyler Scalzi. Tyler, welcome to the show. Did I pronounce your last name correctly?
Yeah, Tyler Scalzi, good enough. But thanks for having me, guys.
Okay. Okay. I'm a real stickler about name pronunciations, and I'm even pronouncing Francois how he told me to, even though I know
that was the first question I asked him.
Well,
so I'm pretty sure that's it, but I'm not gonna. In the business world, you can't assume they go confidently. And I'm like, "Hey, Francois, what's up?" You can't. No, I understand.
Yeah, I always get, hey, did you spell your name wrong? Are you Francisco? I'm like, I don't know. I think I'm Francois. I'll stick with Francois this time, but Francisco maybe next time.
Yeah, I don't think I'd ever start off with, "Did you spell your name wrong?" That's how you lose a sale 101.
Isn't that a wild question?
I've heard it so many times.
Really?
Well, I will get a reply email actually with my name spelled incorrectly when my name is my email. It is Francois@Noviland.com. And I'm like, I think it takes more effort actually to get the name spelled wrong when it says the name right there. It says it twice. It says Francois Jaffers, then it says Francois@Noviland.com. It's the weirdest thing ever, but
or they're just assuming you spelled your name wrong and fixed it for you.
And fix it for me. Maybe I'll thank them next time. I'll send a reply email and I'll just make sure I thank them.
You're getting saltier working with me. You're getting worse.
Well, Tyler, I mean, we've had a few amazing conversations. I've only known you for a few weeks, and I think the company, the Growe Network, was established this year. Is that right? Or was that established last year?
It was established, the LLC of Growe was established back in October, but our official launch, our version 1 version 1, our official takeoff was January 1st. We moved into the office we're in now, and then we called that I was kind of working with Summit and Austin, my two coworkers were kind of scheming up, and then New Year's was just the obvious benchmark to go, all right, we're taking off, full-time thing, fully recklessly abandoning ourselves into the Growe Network. So
we heard an amazing. Yes, go ahead. Go for it.
I was going to say, they burned the boats.
They burned the boat.
Yes. So
they burned the boat?
Burning the boat. So apparently it's this, it's from an old Spanish conquistador named Cortez. And we learned about this from Ken Wilson, one of the co-hosts of Firing the Man podcast. He actually has this big, you'll see it when we air the first episode, but this big poster on his wall said, "Burn the boats." And the theory is that, or the story is that when they, took over, when they landed, where? They were going to overthrow the Mayans. South America. Yeah. They were going to overthrow the Mayans. And he said, "You all need to burn all the boats. We are not leaving this place. You are going to do this. You have no other option." So it was essentially not giving yourself an escape plan. It's like a do or die.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I really do. I am going to... we got a big whiteboard. I'm at least writing it down on that. It might turn into a sign that I make because I love that, actually. Burn the boat. Oh, wow. That's like we're gonna have 2 steps up from Hayes in the Barn. I love it.
We're going to have to get mugs and stickers and everything made. And we're going to have to give Ken some sort of payout. Royalties.
Yeah, royalties. Yeah. Royalties. We'll get him some royalties.
Let's get on the trademark set of that real quick, because I think that I want to play this podcast in 5 years and say this is where the burn the boat phrase came from. Yeah, I actually really love that.
There you go. You could share it with the rest of your team. Well, no, thank you again, Tyler, definitely for being here. Like I was saying, we had some amazing conversations. You are very knowledgeable when it comes to fulfillment, a lot of things supply chain. But I mean, do you want to tell everyone a little bit about your background, sort of how you got to where you are? We could start into diapers, we could start in college, high school, wherever you really started to get into to supply chain and logistics and fulfillment.
That is it's a long story, but I'll keep it as fortune cookie as I can. That most atypical. I'm 26, so in the past 4 to 5 years, it's just been an absolute scatter plot of how I ended up with Summit Hogan starting the Growe Network. I had a very atypical right out of college experience. I played football at Texas Tech, and I actually left there at the same time as Patrick Mahomes, and you can pretty much log off now, because that's the coolest thing about me. We're done. We're like, it's all downhill from here. But I shamelessly rode his coattails while we were graduating together to try to get some attention, try to get a shot in the NFL. I got to go up to the New York Jets for a cup of coffee, as I tell the story. It was a 3-day tryout, and they said, stay in shape, we might call you. So that led me to turn down a bunch of corporate offers that I had, because I said, hey, might get a call. They said, well, we don't want to hire you then, because you could just disappear. And I should have, looking back, I should have lied, but should have just been like, they're probably not going to call me anyway. Just give me. But I ended up starting a gym with my trainer. It's actually Donald Driver, who's the all-time leading receiver for the Packers, who was based out of my hometown. I kind of helped him launch his gym. And once the time frame of the Jets calling me back expired, I went down to Rockport, Texas, roofs right after Hurricane Harvey, just because it was the next thing to make money with. Came back as a minor league football team was talking about calling me up with selling cars here in Dallas. Minor league team called me Green Bay. Cedar Rapids, Washington did the whole Uncle Rico plan, as I call it, just bouncing around team to team. I could still throw the ball over the mountains. Would have won if they put me in the fourth quarter. And came back. I've had my resume has 20 bullet points, but it was just one of those things. Every time I was in town, I was transparent about my situation, but I had a business acumen that I didn't want to do entry level. I still wanted to build a business. I wanted to help be a part of something big. And it was a lot to ask, but I networked and found a way, whether it was HVAC, general construction. I had all kinds of side jobs just to make ends meet. I was working security at bars that were actually, one of them was owned partly by Mark Cuban. And that's a whole other podcast of stories.
Own?
I know, right? That I had that aha moment. I was like, dude, he just looks at the P&L and he's like, yeah, for sure, got it. It's a bar. Like, he does not discriminate against revenue. And then the pandemic hit, and I was actually working at a gym and a bar. Found out I was unemployed through Twitter. I was just the governor of Texas was like, oh, all gyms and bars shut down. I was like, oh, okay. So I called my bosses, and they're like, yeah, no, there's a pandemic, dude. Sorry. I was like, okay. And then Summit, that's when Summit comes into play. Our CEO and founder, Summit Hogue, he called me about midway through quarantine. And obviously 3PLs were, what was the term they used? Necessary, or
essential.
Essential.
Yeah. Obviously 3PLs were the most essential thing at the time. And he, one of his clients was looking for a business development guy, and he was about to hire someone else. Hail Mary, last second, Summit called him and said, hey, you got to at least talk to Tyler first. You got to just give him a chance, give him an interview. Went, talked to him. Week later, had an offer letter. I started working for business development with one of the most knowledgeable. It was a trial by fire so far as the logistics world, because it was the most knowledgeable man. This guy's been the operations manager for $4 billion companies and opened up hundreds of DCs. And he kind of noticed the economic trends going on with, it was a no-brainer. His world. He was like, yeah, no, I'm doing it myself. I'm going to start my own 3PL. This is too big an opportunity, economic necessity, fastest growing sector of the economy. I'm going to launch my own warehouse. And they brought me in, taught me all the ins and outs, all the different ways to invoice, structure, pricing. He was a good, honest guy, transparent, just couldn't have asked for a better mentor in the logistics and fulfillment world. Andrew Kirk, shout out your logistics. I wouldn't be where I am without his just transparent insight. And it's kind of a weird business dynamic, because obviously Summit was working with him. And then when the Growe Network started, it was almost, because I switched from him to the Growe Network, but I'm still generating business for him, because what we do is what he taught me to do. And it was just kind of the weirdest meeting, there really was no exit meeting, because I was like, hey, we got this thing going over here. We're going to try to, and it was just a mutual. He was like, yeah, no, I love you. Go help grow that. And you're still going to be doing what you're doing for me, but at a larger capacity. We'll be as productive for a period of time. But he heard the structure in our company, and I told him my vision for it if I were to jump on. He said, yeah, no, for sure. Go. Call me if you want to know anything in the inside stuff. Now I am at the Growe Network, helping every business owner I can be as knowledgeable about their options and the fulfillment world.
That's awesome.
That is a wild ride. That's a roller
I was going to say, what a ride.
Could have been in the NFL, could have worked for corporate America, ended up at a startup. That is a wild roller coaster.
I was a friend that people just stopped asking, like, "Hey man, what are you doing?" Or they would go out of the way and ask, like, "So what you doing now?" Because they just knew it was a different answer. Like, selling cars. I'm in Green Bay. Oh, now I'm in the fulfillment warehouse. Start a company. But
I mean, that sounds a lot of what a startup really is. It's literally a ton of, and I'm sure Lisa can attest, it's a ton of ideas just kind of thrown together, seeing what sticks best. It's not necessarily what sticks, but it's what sticks best, and then running with that one. So that's amazing.
I love the burn the boat thing. Yeah. I tried to keep it. I said fortune cookie. It was more of a paragraph or two, but it could have.
Fortune cookie gave us the whole meal.
Well, it could have been a whole anthology, so you're fine.
I'll comp it on the house. But and I love the burn the boat expression so much, because at every company that I was with during that kind of gray area time, it was, a toe in the water. This is just reckless abandonment in Growe Network. I will talk to anyone about it. I'm nerding out. I'm passionate about it. There's no one that, if you are in need of what my service provides, you are not going to use us. I'm so confident about it. It is the most just weight off your shoulders feeling, the most empowering feeling to just actually be doing what you love and knowing it's for a very productive, good, mutually benefit-oriented customer.
Well, let's talk about that. I mean, we've talked a lot around it. We kind of beat around the bush to how we got here. But what is the Growe Network? I love it. I love the idea. And we talked about it. I think it was like 7:30 or 8 at night. It was your central time, so it was around 6:30 your time. Everyone was leaving the office, and I think we talked about it for like 2 hours. And we started going down this rabbit hole of like, hey, in a year, in 2 years, this is how it might look. And this, I love the idea. I think everyone will love the idea. Tell us about it.
So the Growe Network is, the expression I like to use is, there's a hotels.com, apartments.com, cars.com. Why in the world is there not a 3PLs.com? All of those websites just offer full transparency to their options and what you need to know in order to make a good decision. There's not that avenue for entrepreneurs and business owners of B2B and B2C needs alike that you can go to and find that. And there's a few out there, but they try to over monetize it, and they don't get near as personable as the Growe Network does. Every time you come to the Growe Network, you're going to talk to me, Summit, or Austin. You're going to get a breakdown of what you know, what you don't know, how you're not going to know what you can't know, but here's all the things you need. And the biggest, I think, value add of the Growe Network is that all of the 3PLs or the vendors we introduce you to, they are vetted. Like that's our number one thing. We cannot. That was the first thing that, because I'm not a real estate guy. I'm not a 3PL decision maker. I don't think. I think in terms of shippers. I see everything from the shipper's point of view. So that was kind of, I came in, I had my feet nailed to the floor. I said, we are going to vet everyone. We are going to, if we bring someone new on, we're going to cross-reference. We're going to introduce every shipper with, hey, you tell us how they do. Make sure when we're going to keep checking on them. It's all about quality. Our company's name is Growe. We only match growth-minded with the growth-minded. If you're stagnant, participatory is not in our vocabulary here. We are trying to 10x, 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 and on top of 10xing all that I just said. It is. I don't get the point of being in the two different businesses, the 3PLs or e-commerce business owner, without the mindset to really grow. Like, that should be the first priority. If you start something, I can ramble on about this concept, but there's a reason it's called the Growe Network. So if that answers your question, again, every time I try to explain the structure of it, I get really passionate, and my blood almost starts to boil at the fact that there's no one out there transparently giving these business owners a list of all their options to the best vendors for what I will argue with anyone is the most important part of their business operationally, and it's going to be the largest expense most of the time.
No, I love the concept of it. It's you explained it well. Like cars.com, you just go there and you trust cars.com is going to match you with the best cars available. It sounds like that's exactly what the Growe Network is actually trying to do, and you guys having such a tight-knit team is just an added benefit of course, once you grow from there, you're going to be able to instill the values in the rest of your team, and they're going to be able to help continue growing that. But Lisa, I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No.
Oh,
maybe I forgot.
Well, it's go ahead, Tyler.
I was gonna say cars.com. When I say cars.com, that's for the structure, just the concept of what we're offering, just give you an idea of what we're doing for you, giving you your options. But like I said, our market advantage is the personability and the education, because cars.com won't bring you in. And I sold used cars, I know this. They won't bring you in and tell you. They won't bring you in and teach you how, the finance guys are gonna try to float the buy and interest rate. They don't teach. They don't introduce. They don't vet near as much as us. If you're a shipper, if you're a e-commerce entrepreneur, if you have B2B, B2C needs, you put an inquiry or call to Growe Network. You talk to Tyler. You get a quick education. One, I find out what you know, and then you get a quick education to fill in all those gaps. I tell you, we're just making introductions at the end of the day. We are just educating and introducing. I'm going to tell you what you need to have in all these meetings. It's the biggest time saver. Have you ever tried to shop for a 3PL yourself? I think that's what kind of initially sent us down the rabbit hole, Francois, when we first met, is if you're trying to find a 3PL by yourself, you have referrals from friends and Google. And most of the time, people don't even know what to Google. You'll just type 3PL. And when they do
warehouse.
Or warehousing or logistics, ship my orders. Like you'll get desperate by the end of it. You're like, send package to customer who orders it. I'm feeling lucky. And and when you do that, if you go on Google and you type in 3PL, then you're going to get a lot of these huge businesses, and they do a good enough job, but it does nothing for the startups, the quote unquote smaller companies, or just the undesirable. You could even be doing a lot of volume, but you could have an undesirable factor in it because of the amount of SKUs or kitting needs. With as saturated as the e-commerce fulfillment world is right now, 3PLs kind of almost have the economic privilege to be picky. If you don't make enough dollar per square foot, if you don't incentivize them enough, they'll kick you out, fill you in with some bigger or someone more according to their needs. And little do you know, as a successful business owner with a great product, everything besides your fulfillment is great, but your perfect 3PL might be on page 7 because you don't have a 5 or 6 figure a month PPC, Google ad, and social media marketing budget. But they do a good job. They're birds of a feather with that shipper, and the fact that they go, all right, well, I took the money from marketing and I think it's going to be way more productive going into the actual performance of my service and my product. And that is where I think that's one of my favorite. I'm a huge small to medium business advocate, and I think that's my favorite dynamic of the Growe Network, is that we are kind of leveling the playing field. We're bringing capitalism back. It's, you want to, if you're a 3PL and you want shippers, then yeah, for sure. We're just promising you that we're going to make an introduction for you to compete for the business. We're not giving you any advantage except for the introduction and the knowledge of which I guess is its own advantage, because if you don't have that, you don't have anything. So, and we do have a Rolodex of 3PLs, but in the consultation meeting as a shipper, Summit Austin, we all get together. We go, all right, so I think that this, and this would be a good fit. And right now it's all in our heads, and we're about to do a version 2.0 where we're going to streamline some workflows to where, because right now it's literally an email introduction. So-and-so, please be introduced. Tidbit, can we have a meeting? And we're probably, I'll give it a conservative month and a half, 2 months away from that being scalable. Because right now we're still in the proof of concept kind of stage. I can't even say that, because the concept's proven. The concept is completely proven. We've successfully placed triple digit shippers right now, just off of mutual benefit. That's all we're looking for. And we're getting really close to streamlining a workload where we can start allocating some money towards the marketing because I do want to get us, I want to get the knowledge of the Growe Network out there, but I don't want to get oversaturated. Shippers don't get the best experience. And we're this close to where I can stand on the stage and go, if you need fulfillment, come talk to me. Everyone, whoever, wherever you are, come to grownetwork.com.
Mm-hmm.
And we are excited, if you can't tell.
I could tell. I sure as hell could tell. And so I know you keep mentioning small to medium businesses. Is there a particular size? Like, is there a cutoff, or will you just talk to anyone that needs any sort of 3PL warehousing? They can talk to you, or is it like, hey, new Amazon seller that wants to get into 3PL? Just hold off until you actually need it.
I mean, our capacity is anyone with B2B, B2C needs. We've switched the operations of a Fortune 500 company. We put a startup who hasn't even launched their website to a 3PL. Like, we are the Swiss Army knife of finding your fulfillment partners. Our capacity is anything, B2B, B2C. There are some categories like cold storage and Canada and Europe that we have some things that we will clarify. We're still working with partners on trying to find the right ones. And that's where just transparency comes into play. Hey, we're still vetting these guys, but the introduction, it's we can see what they can do for you. It's going to be the best option we have. So, but anything stateside, B2B, B2C, Fortune 500, not a sale yet, we can do. And I like that you brought up Amazon seller, because people think that Amazon is just the all-encapsulating gorilla of fulfillment. They think that a lot of people just walking down the street think 90% of orders online are done by Amazon, and they're not. You can still sell on Amazon and use a 3PL. It's part of the service of the 3PL, FBA prep, FBM, and those 3PLs are better to go with if you want to sell on Amazon, because they're up to date in the market and the standards and the performance is needed to be able to sell on Amazon. And they'll pretty much prepackage them, dumb it down, but they'll prepackage what you're selling on Amazon and then send it to Amazon for you, so that your orders from Amazon, because again, as much as I'm going to advocate for the little guys, you do have to sell on Amazon. That's if you're selling a product online, Amazon's the best outlet to do it, to get your name out there and to max order volume for now. But people just write off the idea of a 3PL sometimes and find out what it is, because they just even myself, I'll say, oh yeah, we do exactly what Amazon does for every online order not sold on Amazon. So yeah, that's a huge thing I want to bring to the attention of just e-commerce companies, is how you can still utilize a 3PL and how you can get way better communication, way better pricing, way better preparation, way better insight. At my last 3PL, I used to say P should stand for partner, like third partner logistics. That's how it should be. It shouldn't be a faceless corporate company that is just robotically placing orders because they were told to. No, you should have someone that you can talk to, that if you have a promotion coming up, and a lot of these companies that I talk to, once we place them with a ship or with 3PL, they'll say that the account executive or their point of contact, that 3PL, is reaching out to them proactively about problems they didn't think about. And I love that. Like, if you've got a Valentine's Day special coming up, then the account executive will reach out to you and say, hey, everything of your heart-shaped products, we should probably talk to your manufacturer to boost that up a little bit, because no one wants a Valentine's Day present on the 21st. So
that's a good point.
Very true. Very true.
And I think that's a good point to make, that a lot of people don't, going back to what you said before, they think that Amazon is like the end all be all. And so we're in a lot of the, e-commerce and Amazon seller Facebook groups. And I see these folks saying, I've got the 200 unit limit at FBA. What do I do with the rest of my inventory? Do I put it in my garage? Do I get a storage unit? And I'm like, you can, but why don't you also just get a 3PL, send it there, have them do FBA prep, and then multi-channel fulfill to Shopify and other places? So yeah, I'm glad that you're bringing that point up, because that's a question I see a lot of, and I don't know. I'm very new, but it makes sense to me. I'm like, I don't want that in my house. No, go somewhere else.
Well,
right.
for the little guys, I think that would make sense in some cases, but I mean, it's hard. You could be living in an apartment. You could not, understand the shipping with UPS or FedEx or USPS, and you would need a 3PL for that. I think for some of the newer guys, it might make sense to just try to do it themselves if they've done like arbitrage, for example, right? And they just bought
Mhm.
Well, that
their
makes
own.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah, like if they bought like Nike products or something and resold them and they had to ship them out themselves and they understand that process.
Hmm.
Um, but for
Yeah, I've had
99%
some.
of, yeah, go ahead.
Good. I was going to
Oh,
say I've had a lot of education meetings where I'll talk to a shipper for, and that's another part of the process that I've got to start streamlining is because obviously it worked out because I'm on this podcast, but I love going down rabbit holes. I love educating people on every facet I can possibly give them insight on. But the meetings are going to be education, get the data ready so that I can help the next shipper. I'd rather help 4 shippers an hour than go really in depth with one as time goes on before we start staffing people to do it. But I've had during a rabbit hole, brand new business entrepreneur going there now, making sure they're giving the hour and a half long talk, and at the end they're like, "Oh, I think I'm going to do in-house for a while." And I'm like, you know what? Makes sense. It really does. I can't in the best interest. I cannot convince a business owner to do something that's not the best option for them. But come to me when you grow and you need one, and I guarantee they will. There was one shipper
Wow.
we had that was a toy company, and this was even before January 1st, I think. And we actually ended up, I was reaching back to them, and they actually ended up opening up their own warehouse and fulfillment center because they were doing in-house. And then we had a 2-hour long phone call on how to efficiently run an e-commerce fulfillment warehouse. And then we connected them with a person that can help them find it in the area. And I was telling them what technology to use. And it was kind of one of those things where I hung up and one of my buddies looks at me and goes, "Oh yeah, so that do anything for us?" And I'm like, "Yeah, they're gonna speak really good about us now."
Yeah, that sounds a lot like what Francois does. I think he's got a delay going on or something. But just like
yeah,
having
I
super long
think I'm good to go
conversations.
now.
Okay. But as you were talking, I was like, yeah, have 2-hour long conversation and then be like, this might not be the best fit for you. I'm like, that sounds exactly like Francois, 100%. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's
But they're gonna leave prepared.
Absolutely.
You got to be
Absolutely.
honest with them. I mean, at the end of the day, no one's
Mm-hmm.
trying to waste each other's time, right? So, I mean, everyone wants the best option for each other. If they're going to come on to the Growe Network and it really actually just does not make sense for them to use a 3PL, then why even try to force them into a 3PL? They're going to have a worse experience than when they were initially even considering it. Then that might actually squander their ideas in the future to want to use a 3PL. So,
Right.
no,
And
that
that is
completely makes sense.
and that is it's on the whiteboard. I'm a big whiteboard guy. Every company has one. I'll tell you right now, I'm the idea guy. But eventually down the road, I want to have it to where I can somehow allocate which data from your current operation. I fortune cookie, which we all know what that means now. I want to somehow set up a data analysis system that can tell you when the best time to use a 3PL is, or at least give you the risk reward analysis of it. Because I've talked to some people who do in-house fulfillment and it works, but I'd at least introduce you to this guy at the 3PL who might know something about the way you're shipping it. And if you add on the shipping that you're doing to his shipping account that has larger volumes, it might be a 10% cost increase for exchange of 5 hours of your day. Now, I'll tell my best friend or my worst enemy, you should probably do that. That's it. There's a lot of things to consider. People think of it. There's a skewed view. Rate situational fun. There's a skewed view of 3PLs when it comes to that because they think of just blindly giving their inventory to someone and then getting charged up for everything that can possibly be charged for. And that's not the case. You're going to get what you pay for. You're going to get time. You're going to get insight. You're going to get knowledge. You're going to get. I mean, they are trying to keep your business, so they're going to. Again, they want you to grow as bad as you want to grow. I was talking to a 3PL owner the other day, and we had a startup that hadn't really shipped much to be considered by anyone yet, but he's grow minded, and he's one of those guys who will. And a lot of people are almost going into a fulfillment as a service kind of concept where they bring them into their 3PL, and then they almost turn into quasi like business consultants because they want you to get your sales up because that's how they make their money, picking, packing, and shipping your orders. So they brought them in, and he said it best. He goes, I see guys like that. If they convince me that they have the passion, T's crossed, I's dotted, it turns into a Shark Tank proposal in those kind of situations. But if you get an offer, then he sees it almost as like a stock option that he's really sure of. That's an investment that is right. Going to grow, and he gets to be one to say that he helped them do it. And that's not monetary, but I think worth a lot more.
So Tyler, a lot of what we just talked about has to do with growth. And I feel like that's just one thing that is not talked about enough when it comes to fulfillment. It's talked about in PPC. It's talked about in marketing, cutting your marketing costs to scale your business, finding better keywords, creating better listings, finding new products. But nothing is really talked about when it comes to fulfillment. Why do you think that is? Is that just not enough education out there? Or?
Yeah, exactly. I think that I was telling someone just this morning that it's one of those things that it's not cute, it's not fun, you can't match it to the color scheme of your logo, you can't really post it on social media it's not on the list of things that are fun when you're starting a business. Picking a 3PL is usually not going to be anywhere near the top, much less the top half at all. It's going to be one of those things where you just kind of got to buckle down, look at your options, cross T's, dot I's, compare costs, value, propositions, risk, reward. It's true, just black and white business. So you're looking at all of the factors that go into it. It's not, you don't get to go shake hands and promote your product. It's not a money maker. It's a risk eliminator. It is a total launch pad for your scalability. And that's the market that I want to tap into with the Growe Network. I want to really go into that uneducated portion of the e-commerce business owners and give them just a dumb, conceptual, simple insight of what it can actually do for your business. Because when I started really diving into this and really seeing, what's the first thing you do when you start a business? You look at your competitors. And I was looking around at ours, and there's nothing on social. There's a few guys I could name that are doing a pretty good job so far as just education of what a 3PL does and the presence of the word or the term 3PL in social media in our age group and generation in general. It's nowhere near what it should be at all in any way, shape, or form. I hop on Clubhouse all the time, and the first meeting and what do they call them?
Rooms, I think.
Rooms,
yeah.
Stages.
Okay, so the first room. Anytime I see something with a room with scalability, I always hop in. 3PLs never come up, and it blows my mind. I'll be sitting there in a 1,000-person room, like, oh my god, I'm just tapping the raise hand button. Like, please. Yeah, I don't get how when you're talking about scalability, that doesn't come up. I mean, if you sell anything online, it should be the first topic of at least consideration. You should at least, at the bare minimum, know about it. You should talk to someone who's used one. You should talk to the Growe Network about all the things you need to consider and just have that as an option, which I guarantee the success rate of people who don't know or ever thought about it, who are to come and actually think about it and talk to me and get the true just 30,000-foot view of what it could do for them, it would be, I'm excited for the Growe Network.
Well, it's it's kind of like, well, supply chain as a whole, it isn't talked about as much, which I think is the most ridiculous thing. But I was thinking last night, it's very similar to how they're portraying stocks and investments today. Everyone's talking about, hey, hop on Robinhood, start to invest. But what you're really doing is you're gambling, right? If you're day trading, you're gambling. And you have to be willing to throw that money away. So your risk is at that point is super high if you're gambling. When you get into investments, you start to learn about the stock. You start to learn about the future value of it. You learn, okay, how is my money going to grow in here? And then once you know all your options, then you start to invest. It's very similar to an Amazon business or any e-commerce business. If you know about the sourcing, if you know about the logistics, about the supply chain, about the fulfillment, which Growe Network is trying to portray and relay to all these new business owners, that's how you can actually build a solid foundation. And that's how you can continue growing your business instead of just gambling away your money and saying, hey, I'm going to send my money, my stock into Amazon. They don't know if Amazon's going to shut down their listing. They don't know if, they're going to limit their stock inventory levels, or their IPI is going to have to change. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. But you don't see ads for that, right? You don't see YouTube ads that suck you in and say, hey, potentially lose $2,000, but also you can make $1 million in a week. Like, no, you don't see that.
Yeah, no.
It's
they say invest 200 whatever in this course and make $1 million in a year. That's all you say.
It's bullshit. It's there's no reason for it. I mean, honestly, it is.
Show me the data.
Show me the data. Yeah, I mean, they will. They're going to take all the screenshots from the VAs that they rip off.
Right.
But
I think that brings up a good point. I mean, obviously, there's the untapped, uneducated portion of the market that are unaware. I'll say unaware portion of the market, and then there's the people that are in 3PLs currently that just kind of picked one. One of the worst things you can do is, once you come to the awareness of what a 3PL is, just go with the first one or not do the due diligence on shopping them. And it doesn't have to be either one's fault. It could just be, that we'll take you in. Okay, cool. You could have had 4 to 5 options that were just better fits that would have gotten in front of problems, would have been more minded towards what your target market and mission and goals are. But if you go with the wrong 3PL at the wrong time with the wrong vendor, then that can be just as bad too, from a cost standpoint, from a performance standpoint. Because that's another value add, is that if you have a 3PL, you know that every order is going to get shipped, and that is something I probably should have started off with. If you're picking up your own orders, it's not going to be as fast a shipping time as the 3PL. And I kind of want to get into the already using a 3PL market on the, we'll call it like the more you grow consultation. And I'll go into an analysis of what, and if you come to me and say, yeah, no, you are good for sure. Can I get the contact at 3PL? They're doing a great job. I'd love to add them to the network. But I also want to break down from a cost standpoint, because like you said, if you're putting money into a option or a stock, there's risk there. The company could shut down tomorrow for whatever reason. If you can get in front of the pricing and the cost and kind of make it not linear, but universally understood, because there's a million different terms for the same thing.
Right.
And if I were a business owner selling things online, I would want to know what it costs per order to ship. And it's going to be variable oriented, but to have that range and to consider, it's not, there's some companies out there doing it that gave me the idea. But I think that's something that if I were a business owner, I'd want to know the anticipated cost per month, the cost per order shipped, all the data that you possibly wrap into for your own scalability. That's another scalability just amplifier that you could have, is justifying your costs of the most important portion of the fulfillment. So, and it's not, but I was going to tie that into, they don't charge you until you sell things in concept.
Right.
You've got your storage and your minimums that some have to meet sometimes, but you're not going to pay them unless you're making yourself money. And I think that concept kind of goes just over most people's heads whenever they hear of a fulfillment center.
And your options open up, right? I mean, with every 3PL, if you start using a 3PL, now all of a sudden, just like you were saying earlier, you don't have to stay on just Amazon. You can go on to, you can do FBM. You could run different ads for your FBM listing. You can go on a Shopify, BigCommerce, Wayfair, Home Depot, Target, Walmart. I mean, there's so many new options. And I'm excited that you're growing outside of the US into Canada. Are you looking into Mexico at all?
Specifically Canada. Everybody needs something in Canada right now. So I'm excited to hear that, because next time I see somebody ask, I'm going to tell them to go to you, because y'all have something. But everybody's looking for Canada.
Are you looking into Mexico at all?
We got something in just about everywhere that can be within the realm of a request for us. We don't want want to go too big or we don't want to outgrow. We don't want to, that's the one version we don't want to do. We don't want to outgrow ourselves or spread too thin. So we do have, I'll just refer back to my first answer. We have contacts, but it's not something I'm going to go, yeah, for sure, come to us right now. We got you. It's one of those, here, we'll do what we can, help us also get a feel for our situation, our business model. And that's the thing, we're nothing but transparent at the Growe Network. I'm not going to try to convince you that we've got 1,000-person staff or anything of that nature, but we switched operations for Fortune 500 companies. Like we have the capacity. What we are promising we can do for everyone. It's just as simple as making an introduction with the right people for the right reasons. And we'll add more people as we need to, but our capacity is within our own work ethic, and that amongst me and our two other guys is infinite. But why do you ask about Mexico?
Oh, I know. I just see I see a lot more requests when it comes to, I would say, nearshoring instead of reshoring. But a lot of businesses tend to ask, hey, do you have any suppliers in Mexico or manufacturers in Mexico? And for any business that's sizable, it would make sense for them to manufacture, store, unless they could store it at the factory. But manufacture, store, then truck it on up, and use maybe a 3PL in Texas and distribute that to Amazon as needed. But it's also an emerging market, right? I mean, a lot more consumerism is going on down there. And with that is only going to come the rise of the need of 3PLs. And we didn't really see the huge need, I would say, with 3PLs until COVID hit. And I think a lot of businesses opened their eyes. A lot of companies that we were servicing, and it was going directly to Amazon, all of a sudden had to make this huge pivot. They had to say, okay, where can I ship this to? And what they don't realize is, hey, if I have a container on the way and I move it to somewhere else, first, if that other warehouse isn't in the same vicinity of where it was going before, if it's more inland, then your cost is going to change. That's going to increase. Anytime that your container is stored at the yard, you're going to be charged with storage fees and demurrage. And if you don't find a good 3PL, if you just find, just like you said, that page one 3PL that you just run with because you see it and because they run great Google ads. Then if they receive it and all of a sudden they can't unload it, now you're paying truck waiting fees, and that could be $80 to $150 a day. And if they have to drop the container off, that's at least $200 a day. So, I mean, there's all these added costs that a lot of new businesses might just not see immediately. And we see that sort of at the more of the upstream supply chain end, where they don't want to invest the most money into that, but they don't realize, hey, in that downside, in the worst case scenarios, you're going to be hit with thousands of dollars in fees. This product is no longer going to be profitable. And so if you don't diversify your distribution fulfillment, it's a huge pain. It could be game changing and business ending when it comes to small businesses, particularly those that are just starting out.
Right. And I don't think people, going off of what you're saying with the container showing up the wrong time, having to wait, and that whole, I'm an expert in how I can pair and place perspective into my parties, and I know more than enough to help and make that happen. But from my terms of experts, there are people out there who can break down the logistics cycle and the transportation and the coordination of a truck, a container, to the fulfillment, to the on time, to the JIT, some of the just brain that I've met of logistics that can absolutely just calculate and optimize your shipping performance and cut down your costs. It's an infinite algorithm. Everything's growing, trying to keep up with itself. America's growing more and more themselves on the just needing things transported, especially online deliveries. And the people out there that I would be introducing you to as a shipper, these guys I've sat in on meetings where people just get their costs cut in half. They get their shipping time, because if you've been with or if you just get kind of thrown into a cookie cutter 3PL situation where you just had to pick one really quick and you didn't go with the best one, they're not going to be analyzing and really thinking about how they can grow your business. They're just kind of fulfilling that service, and that's not, you wouldn't be a partner in the Growe Network at that point. But A lot of these meetings that I sit in on, they'll ask questions like, "Oh, the same thing with the containers on B2B and B2C." Like, oh, they just go into the most in-depth things that you would never think about. Like, you don't know what you don't know, and these guys know. I'm just offering you a free meeting with them.
Exactly.
And have you seen a rise? I know you guys were established back in October, but have you seen a rise since October in 3PLs just popping up?
Yes, it was. Yeah, for sure. There's been new, if not new 3PL popping up, then smaller ones getting bought now by bigger ones. And
Okay.
the answer is yes. 3PLs. I mean, it was an economic, like I said, it was an economic need. The first one that I started with. A lot of the guys that were the just popping up, I kind of got in as that was finishing the start, if that makes sense, because people saw the pandemic and knew logistics world enough, which was a fraction of the economy at the time, so far as the true awareness of what we need. They jumped right on it. They were smart. They said, "This is a need. I know it. There's going to be business for me to do." It was kind of one of those things where if you were confident, you did it. So yeah, 3PLs are popping up, and they're being started by great, smart, intelligent, insightful businessmen who have the same spirit as these entrepreneurs and business owners, that whether they're just starting off, have been established for 10 years and are killing it, and they're still looking to move up to that next level. When you pair those two mindsets together in the form of a business owner and a 3PL and order fulfillment, it's a beautiful thing, because all these 3PLs did start popping up, and we'll probably see a correction over the next 5 years of who's really doing good and who's truly a Growe Network quality partner. And just from a macroeconomic scale, it's going to be one of those things that, I mean, you'll see it probably by the end of this year. There's still going to be a lot of just fluctuations of 3PL locations, 3PL sizes, the amount of distribution points per 3PL. And I think that I say it a lot, one of my favorite things about Growe Network is that we are making sure that it levels out for the better. Like the true, it's moral and value oriented at the end of the day. Because if you without us, you've got people just being people like you would going out to a place to grab a drink. But we're playing Cupid in that sense. We're saying, hey, you're a business owner who knows their stuff. You're a business owner who knows their stuff. Get together, and it almost becomes, like I said earlier, third partner logistics. That's how it should be. That's your new business partner.
Yeah.
That is your new
Tinder
department.
for 3PLs.
No.
Did you say Tinder?
No. Of all the ones,
No Tinder. Tinder,
Yeah.
not Tinder. Is it the Bumble?
Are you gonna?
The eHarmony?
No,
we
you're hitching
are
your wagon
the-
to the wrong concept. None of those are long-term
we are the
relationship.
mutual.
No.
We are the mutual best friend from church who connects you, and you should meet my friend of logistics.
I have a sister-in-law. That she's getting married to someone she met on Bumble. So that's one of my few experiences with
anomaly.
Bumble and Tinder.
That is the exception, not the rule.
I thought it was a statistic that more people that meet on these apps are actually getting married as opposed to people that are meeting in person. Or was that marriages lasting longer from meeting on these apps? There was a statistic for that.
You'll have to send me the article.
This is rabbit hole. I
The answer's
wrong
no.
rabbit hole. wrong type of podcast.
No.
I'll find it.
God bless your naivete in being in a 6 or 7 year long relationship at 26. God bless you.
Yeah, jeez. Yeah, no. So, sorry for that, Tyler. Going back to the macroeconomics. I know you touched on that for a second. Are there any moves in logistics that no one is considering? That's just maybe you had a firsthand insight because you're just in this. Is there something no one is considering?
It's not part of any part of our business structure yet, but drones, I think, are just going to show up one day. Okay. And this is a for fun talk, because I've got a few drones in my life. I'm kind of drone nerd, but the second I flew a drone that I ordered off Amazon. I could fly it 1.5 miles away and back, recording the whole time with the live screen. And I just ordered that on Amazon. I was like, okay, wait, no, these are going to be delivering things. Like it was just one of those. I was like, whoa, why is no one talking about this? And I was digging into it the other day. Amazon's got a commercial license from the FAA to start a fulfillment business with drones and use drones as a fulfillment source. And
okay, because I heard about when they were going to start rolling out the drones, and the FAA originally said no because they're just picky and they don't like that kind of stuff. But I was wondering if what had happened with that.
I know they had a commercial license, but the FAA just this last year came out and said that drones have to start having pretty much conceptual VIN numbers. Like they have to have a state of ownership, a traceable account number, VIN number equivalent on the drones. It's been happening behind the scenes, and I think drone companies know that a lot of America is kind of ignorant to the capabilities of drones. So I don't think Amazon was the first one, of course, to throw it in a commercial and say, here's to the future for Amazon. But there's drones already being utilized and tested on the R&D in manufacturing in manufacturing plants. They're delivering within the plant. There's the capabilities. Once you see what they truly can do, it gets your mind running. Like, have y'all ever driven a Tesla?
No, I've only ridden in it one time, and I struggled to get the door open because the handle was flush, and it was a real mess.
Did the person make the car drive itself for the person? Did he make the car drive itself?
No, he didn't, but he was an Uber driver, so I don't know what the rules with that are. Yeah, I got a Tesla nice Uber one time. Yeah, in Texas, actually. And we didn't pay for like black or anything like that. It was just like regular like Uber X. He rolled up in a Tesla. It was so strange.
Wow.
This is in Austin. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. And you said he did make it drive itself, or he didn't? Because that
didn't. No.
Okay. Well, there's a certain button. I sold a few Teslas back in the day, and there's a little under the like the window washer lever. There's a little stick. And Elon Musk heard me, he'd be cringing. But there's a little stick below the first stick, and long story short, you press a special button twice. And this was back in 2017, and the versions have upgraded. It will drive itself for you. It will stay in the lane. It'll virtually map out the cars around you. It'll slam on the brakes if someone in front of you slams on the brakes, bring itself back up to speed. You can turn on your blinker, change lanes once it says it's okay, because it's got a better awareness of you, because it's using AI. Freaking magical technology elves is the most I can tell you about how it gets done from a functional standpoint. But these cars are driving themselves, and there's going to be a point to where, and I heard this, that once self-driving cars are legal, the only thing holding everything I'm talking about back is the government, and for the right reasons. You can't just throw this in America right after a pandemic and expect no one to screw something up. It's got to slowly be rolled out. But these cars apparently can drive themselves from a capability standpoint. It just has to be legalized, and you can drive it to a Tesla facility and explore the different ways that you can just, it's a remote control car ran by a battery and a computer and wrapped into, so that plus drones. The whole point of my speech, Will Smith is going to have to come back and save us, because we're living in iRobot.
Yes. Well, and Francois, do you remember that that we're diving in a hole and I don't even care. Do you remember that Westworld looking car that I showed you a couple weeks ago?
Yes.
It's this rider only. You can fit 4 people, and you like pre-select your destination. It's omnidirectional, so it can do. Have you seen this thing? Those are wild. And now they can't go everywhere. It can only go like within a certain distance, but they've already rolled some out in, I think it said like San Francisco and Las Vegas. And because they use, the cameras everywhere, and they map out and it's wild, but
it is wild.
But those could definitely be used for like logistics and shit like that. Yeah.
So
we are at the first initial. We are at the whatever you call the part between the actual stick that slaps the hockey puck and the handle of. We are at that part of the hockey stick curve right now. We are about to just. And that's
take
my
off.
own opinion that I can back up with a lot of data if you want me to write you a high school book report. But it is about to just. It's not too late, like for whatever you want to do. It's huge,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, down the rabbit hole, like stuff like that. I really do think it's going to be a matter of less than 5 years where that's almost the norm. If you're in an area where that's happening, you're going to have a self-driving car delivering drones to a half mile away from where that drone delivers the package. That's all off of just my own conceptual recognizing and predicting, but I'm still going to be surprised, but it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Do you think Amazon, and I know we're coming up at the top of the hour, but do you think Amazon or Walmart, I would assume Walmart more than Amazon because they have less of the capabilities, but do you think one of them is just going to come in and start swooping up some of these fulfillment centers, some of these 3PL fulfillment centers? I mean, what's to stop them?
That is there's some the Growe Network, because I really think that over the next decade, if we're doing, and other businesses have the same mentality as we do, if we can match growth-minded businesses right now, like I said, we're at the beginning of a hockey stick curve. So if we can match the growth-minded business owners with the growth-minded 3PLs and do that enough times the right way, let them grow, let their businesses take off to the moon, the 3PLs are going to be able to use those profits in order to get more distribution points. And we're talking to a company right now about, because there's from our model, there's three main parts. There's going to be the product that you're actually selling. That's all you as the business owner. That is you. We can't tell you anything about that, but that's on you. And the 3PL, that's getting your product is only going to be as good as it can get there. And then there's the marketing, advertising, but on the internet itself, and that is something I can dabble in, but there are people who know how to optimize lead generation, website traffic. Those are the three main parts: your product, your transportation, and the awareness. And we're in the embryonic stages of talking with the company to kind of bring them into our service and have it as a package that they can, at least a introductory meeting to see, because that would be the ticket to the moon right there. If we can take someone who's got a good product, that's all. You're going to have a good product at that point. You just have to prove to us that you care about the product, it's fixing a problem, that it's sellable, there's a market, and then we got to make sure it can get where it's going. You've got to have the platform before you take off, and then let everyone know about it. It's a simple process where you just start a business online, but I think if you get in front, if you do that enough times with the right business owners and you make aware to them that concept, the three-step process that I just said, I think over time with the streamlining of shipping speed, paying, most websites right now, if you're on Instagram and you swipe up your card info, shipping, everything, it's going to autofill. And I think if that whole process gets even more streamlined, and then you add Amazon quality shipping speed, capability, and transparency, I would love to see America kind of take itself back over and really level the playing field on competition. I don't want people to feel strong-armed by Amazon and not know about what we're doing at the Growe Network and the 3PL. So I think it could go either two ways. There's infinite variables, but I could see Walmart and Amazon are going to try, and I'm not even saying, oh, screw those guys, because I would too. If you've got a growing company that's proving itself well, I said we're driven by capitalism. That's a double-edged sword. If someone's doing a really good job, then you got to keep letting them do their job. But we are bright-eyed, bushy-tailed enough to think we can compete. So, and I'd much rather see those 3PLs instead of getting sucked up by Amazon or Walmart, getting matched with a bunch of growth-minded shippers and say, hey, Amazon, there's no offer you could write me. I'm going to look at another distribution center. You can't have mine.
Shit, Tyler. You're going to have to make a course of that three-step process right there.
That was it.
There-
Get a good product.
Here it is,
Get a
this
good product.
podcast.
know how to ship it and let everyone know about it.
There you
Why
go.
haven't we done it yet,
There
right?
you go.
So yeah, that is
Awesome.
been as fun as I thought it would be, because I know there's very few fulfillment nerds out there. There's few fanatics of fulfillment. I think there truly needs to be more for the sake of the American economy, and I'm not even joking about that. So
Well, there's not enough at our age, I think is the thing. There's a ton. I've talked to some brilliant people in their 40s, in their 50s. Not too many people in their 20s and 30s, completely frank. And those that are, they work for amazing companies, well-established companies, and they had amazing training. Like I speak to some people at Flexport, amazing training, people our age, amazing training, and they know their stuff. But there's just not enough people, I think, our age that this seems very appealing to. And they just see it as, hey, why don't I just get on the internet and do marketing just like everyone else? I'm going to do affiliate marketing or optimization or listing optimization. I'm going to sell on Amazon. But no one wants to talk about logistics, fulfillment, the cost savings, all the optimization stuff. And that's why I love the fact that you guys started this company. You guys are all very young. It's only going to open more doors, I think, to the industry. And that's what we're trying to do here at Noviland too, and I'm excited for it. You seem a bit more excited than me, but I'm excited for it.
No, and again, I can't thank you enough for having me on, because we're going to test all the different marketing platforms, and we're going to do little case studies of each one to see what is the most efficient way of getting our name out there, of getting shippers to us. But for the time being, rogue marketing is always going to be my favorite, no matter what. And just hearing me organically talk about how passionate I am about fixing the problem that we're out here to solve is cost-free, mutually beneficial, and it's the only way that I can right now, from a cost-free standpoint, get it out there for the time being. And I also don't get to rant like this every time I post an Instagram post. I wish I could. I wish I could. If I did, you'd probably scroll right past it. So
I get the rants too.
Well, yeah, we appreciate you coming on the show and sharing everything. So if folks do want to get in touch with you or follow and learn more about the Growe Network, where can they find you?
LinkedIn, we are big LinkedIn guys. We've got our social media platforms. We've actually got a post schedule built halfway out for almost every platform right now. LinkedIn, the Growe Network, Tyler Scalzi, Summit Hogue, Austin Fay. I would give them more time to talk about the two other guys. They are just as passionate as I am. And Summit Hogue, the CEO and founder, he brought me on. Austin Fay came with him from his last employer because he just saw the concept and model that we had, knew it was a good idea. He saw our passion. He's just as passionate. We're all within 3 years of we're all within 4 years of each other. So we're just three brothers in a fight against the world to try to get the good guys up to win. And so Summit Hogue, Austin Fay, I'm Tyler Scalzi, the Growe Network. And then there's the GroweNetwork.com, not the Growe Network. GroweNetwork.com. That's our website, which we're also revamping and trying to cross T's and dot I's on, but best way.
Okay.
And that's Growe with an E at the end. GROWE network.com.
Yes.
Thank you, Francois.
We'll link everybody in the description of the video and in the podcast description on the platforms as well. So we'll link you guys.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. This has been so much fun. Oh, I finally get to. I've been looking forward to this. This was the most disappointed thing I was about missing during the blizzard. I woke up and I was like, "Is power on?"
The Texas blizzard.
God.
Well, I'm glad we had a chance to finally, record this podcast and have you on and cover so much of what's actually important, I think, which is supply chain and fulfillment. And I think it's going to be something that's going to be trending over the next decade at the very least.
Oh, yeah.
And every business is going to need. So thank you so much, Tyler, for coming on. And it was an amazing show. I look forward to continue talking with you and hopefully bringing our 3PLs on board to the Growe Network. And yeah,
good for that meeting
thanks, brother. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
We'll clear 2 hours to get it all lined up.
There you go.
There we go.
All right, guys. Thank
Well,
you.
Thank you,
so
buddy,
much.
else for listening. Hope you guys enjoy the show as much as I did. I had a blast talking. Lisa?
We'll see you guys next week. Look out for another one. We're going to keep cranking them out.
Oh, yeah.
Gonna keep growing.
Yep.
Keep
There
growing.
you go. We're going to end it on that.
Bye, guys.
Bye.